What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and before we get into things today, I just want to take a second and say thank you. Thank you for all the support on this channel lately. It truly means a lot. We were able to get a new microphone for this channel with your support, so it really does truly mean the world to me. Anyways, on to today's video, because the Red Sox have a good problem, and it's one of the few good problems that they've had this month, and that is that Christian Arroyo has come back from the IL with vengeance, tearing the cover off the ball. On top of that, you've been making big strides in the return of Kike Hernandez and Trevor Story, and that leads to a good problem for the Boston Red Sox. What do you do with Christian Arroyo? And that is what we're talking about today. We're talking about some of the solutions the Red Sox could have to Christian Arroyo's production at the plate, as well as what they could do in the future with Christian Arroyo. But before we get into that, do me a favor. If you're new here, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. We talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit that like button as well. Helps out these videos a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. If you haven't been watching the games recently, the Red Sox have been playing really good baseball, and one of the biggest highlights of that good stretch has been Christian Arroyo. Over his last 15 games and since coming back from the IL, Christian Arroyo is hitting well above average at a pace of 357 average with a 518 slug, a 379 on base percentage, all in his last 15 games. That includes at the same time too a home run and a few RBIs, and this couldn't have come at a better time. In fact, it was kind of a godsend that Christian Arroyo came back when he did. We have been having problems at second base since Trevor Story went down before the All-Star break. We had Jeter Downs in there for a little bit, and his bat seemed to be good at first and then really cooled off, and you had Yolmer Sanchez in there for a while who just simply never got off the ground. To me, Yolmer Sanchez doesn't seem like an everyday MLB player. He seems more like a quadruple A type guy, a guy who comes in, comes out, and is a depth piece for a team, because he was hitting under 100 by the time he left the Red Sox, hitting about 057 at that time. So yeah, it hasn't exactly been pretty for the Red Sox at second base since Trevor Story's departure, and Christian Arroyo coming in and changing that almost immediately has been huge for this team. The problem with that is that Trevor Story is on his way back. We've gotten a few updates about him taking ground balls and getting his swing back together. It looks like he should be making a rehab assignment coming up in the next couple of weeks, and it seems like Trevor Story will be back by the end of the month. So with Trevor Story coming back and making his return to the diamond, where does that leave Christian Arroyo? And what I've come up with here are three different scenarios, some of them more likely than others, but I want to get your opinion on all of them. Let me know in the comments down below, which one do you think is best? Because we're going to start with the first option here, and the first option here is to let Christian Arroyo kind of ride this out. Regardless of Trevor Story's return date, let Christian Arroyo take that starting position and see how long he can stay hot. It's probably not realistic that Christian Arroyo can stay hot for the rest of the season, at least hitting above 350 for the rest of the season, so let that ride out. Plus, it gives Trevor Story a little bit of wiggle room here. Coming back from a broken hand could be a little bit difficult in regaining that trust in your ability to use that hand, especially at the plate. So having Trevor Story for a couple of weeks as a bench bat / defensive replacement and slowly easing him back into being an everyday second baseman for this team could be something that could be interesting for this Red Sox team, especially if Christian Arroyo continues to hit the way he does. You get that production from Christian Arroyo, you have a massive power bat on your bench and a stellar defensive replacement in case we need to use them late games. Now, the problem with this is, one, I don't really think the Red Sox want Trevor Story sitting on the bench, especially after you pay him a pretty penny in the offseason. You haven't seen him for a while. It would make sense to me that the front office kind of says, no way we are letting our biggest signing of this offseason sit on the bench and have Christian Arroyo play every day. Plus, on top of that, I'm not entirely sure that Trevor Story would like that type of role, and I don't know how comfortable Christian Arroyo would be with that role. Obviously, Christian Arroyo wants to be in here every day, but he understands the power and capabilities of Trevor Story. He said that in the offseason, so I wouldn't be surprised if that is something that would make all parties involved a little uneasy. So I don't know how realistic that option is. The second option here is to put Christian Arroyo back in the outfield, and I know. You guys are going to crucify me for this one because of how bad Christian Arroyo's defense is. But at the same time too, we've had bad defensive outfielders in the past who have hit really well. And right now we have a guy in center field who's not exactly the best defensive center fielder we've ever seen. And he hasn't been doing a whole lot at the plate. So what if instead of having Jarren Duran in center every day, we put Tommy Pham in center every day, who is a plus defensive player, keep Alex Verdugo in right field, and have Christian Arroyo play that left field position? In my opinion, mean, if you're looking at it from a defensive standpoint, is it the best move? I'm not entirely sure. I think Christian Arroyo is a worse defender than Duran, but at the same time too, I think it would be a little bit easier for me to let go of some defensive mistakes if he continues hitting 350, 300 at the plate for the rest of the year. I feel like a lot of people would be able to overlook some defensive misjudgments, especially if he continues to hit that way, and maybe that does work out. Christian Arroyo was kind of stuck into that right field role because of the Jackie Bradley platoon at the beginning of the year, but let's be honest here, left field in most parks is way easier to play than right field, and much easier to play than right field in Fenway Park. So maybe he actually does become a relatively decent outfielder. I'm not saying a plus defensive outfielder, but maybe a slightly below defensive outfielder who hits really, really well. That could be a solution too. The only problem with this is that I don't really think the Red Sox long-term see Christian Arroyo as a future outfielder. I don't think that their plan with Christian Arroyo is to have him move into the outfield beyond this year, and so having him out there for the rest of the year could end up being a little bit counterproductive. So again, not entirely sure how realistic that option is, but if we're looking at scenario 1, which is replace Trevor Story, or scenario 2, which is replace Jarren Duran, I think scenario 2 makes more sense. The most realistic option, in my opinion, is to put Christian Arroyo where he can be the best, and that is the everyman player, the utility guy. And the utility guy is a position on the diamond where I truly think it gets overlooked a lot. And a lot of you guys might say, Corbin, this is a waste of his bat, and I think that he should be an everyday player, and we need to find room for him. And you're right. But at the same time too, the value of a good utility player is huge. And we saw that a lot this year with all of the injuries that we have seen. If you look around the 9 players on this field right now, 2 of them are new, and a lot of them have spent time on the IL. To have a guy on that bench who can produce for you offensively and now play 7 of the 9 positions on the field is huge. And it's not like Christian Arroyo is a bad defensive player, especially on that infield. He can play third base really well, shortstop, second base. He's okay at first base. I wouldn't say great, I wouldn't say good, but he's serviceable. He's serviceable in the outfield, and that is wildly underrated in my opinion as the value to a player. A guy who can come in and give guys rest days and prevent IL stints like we've seen with Devers or Xander or JD, who's been hurt for a while too. You can kind of slot these utility type players into those roles, and it saves you from having to put guys on the 10 day IL. And that's where I think Christian Arroyo excels, and that's where I think Christian Arroyo should stay for the remainder of the season. And personally, I would like to see him back next season as well, and a couple seasons after that, because I truly do think his role on this team is super important. But I want to get your guys' opinions as well. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this Christian Arroyo scenario. Obviously, it's a little ways in the future, as we have a couple of weeks probably until we start hearing Trevor Story's return date, so you've got some time. But think about it. Think about where you would want Christian Arroyo when Trevor Story comes back. Is it one of these scenarios? Is it something else entirely? Let me know all your thoughts down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit that like button as well. It helps these videos out a ton and would mean a lot to me. One more thing, if you really enjoy this video, share with a friend or family member who loves the Red Sox as much as you do. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.